Hey, it's James again, and we're here for a very exciting day. We have Chef Adam, of course, and we have Taylor from the Six Nations here to help us break down the cow that we got from Harley Farms a few days ago when we were there. And it's gonna be great. What we wanted to do was kind of show the process of breaking down the cow, how they do it, what they think about when they're doing it, how much actual usable meat comes out of it, to give everybody a kind of a really good understanding of this whole process. And as you know, Chef Adam likes to say, to face your food and understand where it comes from and that process. So again, thank you for coming and helping us with this, and it's going to be a very exciting day. For the Canadian Tire gift box, we really wanted to make it something special and connected to the land that we all live in. And I think the support of local farms and the regenerative farm, connecting all the way to the cattle itself, seeing it broken down, and then providing that as a gift to you guys, that's going to be a really exciting and fun thing. And our hope is that this provides enough information and obviously good food that you will do something like this for yourself and your families going forward. So I think one of the things for a guy like me that just buys all of their meat from a grocery store, it's very interesting to see kind of the whole cattle here and where the different bits come from and so forth. But I think more importantly, it's kind of knowing that what you buy in the grocery store is a very, very kind of consumerized version of what it is here. So what are some of the advantages of kind of getting it from the source like this?
Well, getting it from the source, you're cutting out middlemen, so you're saving the money right there. Again, too, with this cattle specifically, as opposed to commercialized beef and stuff like that, where cows are just kind of living indoors in small pens, just being fed GMO corn or whatever feed they're given. These ones get to just roam the land, eat off the pastures, and just wander around until they're eventually kind of gathered up to be sent to the abattoir. So they're living very calm and easy lives. So you're going to find that there's a lot better fat content, so it's going to have better marbling. The meat is going to have a darker red color because it's not being fed and dyed, the meat. This is just natural. So this is just probably the healthiest possible beef that you could purchase.
And Taylor, you grew up hunting and doing this all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, is this for you something fun, or is it just a part of your existence?
It's just a part of our culture, in all honesty, right? It's like connecting back to the earth. Like everything comes from the earth, is taken by the earth for the earth, right? So our whole culture is about sharing, and the whole concept of always having to face your food, because at some point something had to die for you to sustain life. Right? So always giving back and respecting as much as the animal as possible, instead of just ignoring the fact of, oh, well, I only want that corner piece of there. Right? So we've done dinners together where we teach this to people about how to reconnect and share their food, and you don't always get the best cut, but you can always make something really creative with it.
Great, yeah. So this is actually a really important part of it's an important part of the whole kind of dining culture, or it should be anyway.
It should. But again, it's a lot of it I found is just not taught anymore. People don't have that respect for their food from the day one point of where it's been taken from too. How did that animal live? Did it live a good life? Was it raised in a kettle? Well, you know what I mean? So that fear factor too, I find actually has a different change in your meat. If your animal is scared when it passes away, it has completely changes the quality of meat. Yeah.
That's great. And I think even from obviously the average person probably is not going to go through and buy a cow and be able to have a facility and friends to cut it like this. But I think the important thing is, as the world gets crazier, as these kind of corporations, in terms of them supplying meat and food, it's even more important to know where your food comes from and what's going into that food. And on a higher,
that goes into you.
Goes into you. Yeah. And on a higher level, as you were saying, I think there's almost this aspect of your food, your meal is gonna taste better because you feel better about kind of your part in it.
Psychosomatically.
Yeah, absolutely. For us, I think even at home, I probably maybe half of the year. So I can't say I fully only live off the land, but half of the time we probably eat meat that we've all hunted, or like somebody from the family, or anytime we've done private dinners, right? We always try to take back as much as possible, or try something different or unique. I can probably honestly say most of the dinners I've always cooked have never been the same.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. And I think it's again, it's so exciting to be able to do this from the ground up, and of course share it with everyone.
Absolutely.
So now these guys are going to get to work and kind of break down the cow. I believe you're going to start with removing the bones, and then you're going to take it from there. And how long do you think this is going to take?
This will probably be 2 days. I'm hoping today we can break it into its prime pieces, and then from there we can process it down to the servable
Into
bits.
our servable, yeah. Into everything everybody recognizes at the grocery store.
That's great.
That's right.
Great. So the guys have been going at it for about 3 hours now, and I'm exhausted from all the work that I've been doing, which is nothing. But I wanted to take a break and just kind of take a look at kind of the progress after 3 hours and talk about some of the tools and some of the things that they've been looking and using. So, Adam?
So far, kind of to our own detriment, we're using boning knives to do most of the work, just to get around in all the little areas and stuff like that. So like this guy here, it just makes it a little easier with the fine tip. For the bigger bones and just getting those nicer cuts, we have the reciprocal saw, which has been pretty handy. But for the most part, this has all just been cleaned and done with butcher's knives, or with our boning knives.
Is this typically how a commercial butcher would do it?
This is more like your artisan ones, like the ones that just like really have that pristine, like somebody who's going to go out of their way to make sure that their fridges and presentation areas are stocked with grass-fed beef is probably going to be the type of artisan that's going to do that by hand, with his leather apron and his army of knives. Obviously, commercially, they're using saws and things like that. But I mean, with the saws, there's a lot of bone matter that kind of gets thrown everywhere, right? Like this white powder. So we have a special tool to make sure that there's nothing kind of going forward from that. But yeah, you always have to be careful that you're not getting that stuff on there, because that's going to start pre-oxidizing your meat, which is going to cause it to go bad faster.
And when I look at this, none of these cuts are recognizable. Not yet. So I guess this is just a lot of experience and knowing how to cut when and where and how to make it into kind of presentable cuts of meat.
Yeah, so there's kind of a methodology to going through it, where you want to take your pieces, the prime pieces they're referred to, and you're just going to remove all those, and then from the primes, you clean that up, so you're going to remove any excess silver skin, which is just connective tissue, or excess like suet, being like the firm pieces of fat, and then you'll cut it into the familiar, recognizable butcher pieces that you'd see.
I know you hunt a lot of different animals. Is the process the same, or?
Always the same.
Always the same.
Always the same, just different size of animal.
Yeah, the biology, right? So I
Yeah.
mean, that's all it really comes down to, is just
Everything
understanding
walks
the.
on 4 legs, everything has hips, everything has knees and joints, right? So,
Unless you're a cephalopod.
There you go.
not
Gotcha.
nose.
So there's a piece there. There's an ossobuco piece right there, right?
Yeah.
So-
So this would be the leg, right? So the back leg. So just the top area here. So you can kind of see there, just with the bone marrow and the cut that goes around it. So that's going to be like a nice meaty piece right there.
Yeah, and it's
Obviously, we have the rib steaks down here. I'm just working on removing the rib steak from this one here, as well as the tenderloin. And then we're going to move into hopefully the top quarters, so we can start pulling out the Angus and or not the Angus, sorry, the chuck.
So thanks for watching. Hope you find this as informative and interesting as we do. And we hope that you'll engage in some practice like this in the future for yourself.